What's happening, Jason? How are you?
Well, it's so nice to be intimate with you, hundreds of miles away with 12 people between us and a mountain of equipment.
I know. I'm so sorry. I was supposed to come in to be with you today, and then I'm in the middle of building a house, and I found out.
Are you wearing a tool? Let me just picture you're wearing a tool belt and you're up on you're topless, drinking Diet Coke and all that stuff.
I don't know if you've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood when Brad Pitt wears the tool belt.
Very much.
I
have it on my pillowcase.
Yeah, that's me. I'm up there sucking in my pooch. And I'm one of the least handy men you'll ever meet. But I have an appreciation.
Do you do what I do? I sometimes think I can fix things at home because my wife can't do any of it. I think I can do it, and I do it, and then I come home a week later and I go, wait, and she's had someone come in and fix my fixings. So it's come in and line things up properly or just redo the drawers or whatever.
Dude, the way I look at we're gifted with other gifts.
I don't know about that. I met the person yesterday who made Station 11. Did you see Station 11? It's another one of these shows about the world has come to an end because of, who knows, climate change and nuclear war, whatever.
Right.
And people are trying to survive. And the actors survive by doing Shakespeare. Like that's going to happen. Like we have skills to survive an apocalypse. We'll be the first against the wall.
Well, but no. See, here it's funny you say that because everybody's watching. Anybody who's not watching White Lotus, which we'll get to, which everybody is, they're watching the show called Paradise, and the concept.
Yeah. The
concept of that is there's an Armageddon, and certain people are chosen to survive it. I had this talk about who would it be. I think artists would be included. I do. I think. Listen.
Well, I love your optimism.
Well,
I quite like someone who can collect water, maybe, or grow food.
Well, that goes without saying. The handy people, the smart people, goes without saying. But here's the thing. I think, I'm just going to say it. I think you want some good-looking people. I'm just going to say, I'm just going to be honest.
Just for breeding purposes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Literally, your job is to have 10 kids.
When COVID happened, I did think, it's going to be Mad Max. Within a few weeks, I thought, if there wasn't a food supply, I thought people were going to kick the door in. They're going to eat us for food, and I have nothing. I've got a golf club. I've got it by the door.
No.
I had a putter. I didn't want to ruin one of the irons.
No, you've got it all wrong. When they come to the door, because you're a brilliant actor, you make up some bullshit, and you tell them that if X, Y, and Z happens to you...
My hands are registered weapons.
Yes.
My dad's the chief of police.
Yes, come on. Don't sell yourself short. Okay, so...
Let's hope it doesn't happen. Anyway, hello you.
Hello you.
How are you?
So, Patrick Schwarzenegger is basically like my second son. I don't know if you know this. So,
he's mine.
Yeah,
too.
I know.
We have to fight over him. I love that boy.
That boy is the greatest, and I'm so proud of him. He's murdering on the show.
He is.
Yes,
and I'll tell you something. He was playing... People completely got him wrong. Two things. But one, people were making facile comparisons between him and the character in the first season. And actually, you saw when it all fell apart. He played this scene so brilliantly this week where he just came to me desperate and begged me to find out there's something going on.
Yes, great.
He suddenly realized all that braggadocio, all the approaching women, he's a loser. None of these women sleep with him. Right. It's Lachlan who gets to have sex. Actually, his lines don't work. None of the fake stuff he shows off to his younger brother, it's not the real him. He has nothing except me and living in my shadow. And it was like a magic eye picture. It all suddenly came to focus. You go, wow. And he'd been keeping his powder dry for 6 episodes. And I thought he did that fantastically.
Yeah, that's the scene. That's the scene. It's just spectacular. And it's great when you see he's best friends with both my sons. And so I literally have known him since he was 6 years old, probably. And
well, so you always knew. I imagine when I arrived at the set, I thought, well, okay, I know his dad is and his mum is, and he's going to be some kind of Hollywood spoiled brat. He's going to be a prince of Brentwood or something. And it just turned out to be such a fantastic, solid human being. So kind and fun and game for anything and humble and I thought he and my other 2 kids, screen kids, I've fallen completely in love with. In fact, I called them my kids. They called me dad. And we went out all the time, and we'd say we're going out with the family. And then my real kids arrived in Thailand, and I said, "Well, let's go out with the kids." And they would go, "Dad, we're your kids." I'm like, right? Yes, you know what I'm saying.
I do. Oh my God, that's amazing. We're Thailand. Okay, how hot was it?
It was hot enough that nobody should think, "Fuck those people." They had a whole day in Thailand. It was monstrously hot. Like not enjoyably hot at all. Plus, you're wearing makeup and costumes. It's not that you're going to suddenly go and jump in the pool a lot of the time. But hot enough that if you were so inclined, you would just, as some people did, stay in your air-conditioned room the entire time and never come out.
Really?
I traveled around and went to different countries and stuff. But yeah, it was unpleasantly hot. And insects and animals and jellyfish and a whole bunch of it. Nobody should be jealous and think that we had a free holiday.
It looks pretty plush, I gotta say. There's a lot
It's a television program, Rob. You've been in a few yourself.
And the other thing that we all know is all those endless scenes of everybody drinking fake wine and disgusting cheese plates.
Or eating in a beautiful restaurant. But if it's dark when you're watching television, for those people who don't know, then you're looking at somebody who was filming at night, which meant we started at 6 o'clock at night and we finished at 6 o'clock in the morning when the sun came up. And they shoot the ladies first. And so my close-ups, thank God I'm a drugged out lunatic in it, because my close-ups are always, 4:58 in the morning. And I've matchsticks in the eyes to keep them open.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is.
By the way, sorry, no one should be jealous, but no one should be sympathetic either. We don't really deserve any sympathy. We did go to Thailand for 7 months. It's
one of those shows where I want the DVD commentary. I would pay anything for that. Remember?
Well, Patrick will tell you the stories. There's plenty of behind-the-scenes stories. I'm on this podcast with you here. I'm glad you're not here in person, because I did a podcast recently that a friend of mine hosts in England, and I thought it went well and it had a nice response. And my friend, who is also my publicist in the UK, Claire, I didn't realize I had to cut about 25 minutes out because I was horribly indiscreet, telling him things I would tell him if we were at dinner. And she went, "You can't say that. You can't put that out there. No one should know that." And so I'm glad that there's some distance between us. Hopefully I'll be able to maintain a level of discretion today. But there are stories. And one day on all of our deathbeds, we'll tell them.
Well, I've heard a couple of them from Patrick.
I'm sure you have.
I mean, one of them is already out there in the ether of you running through the plate glass window.
Oh, yes. No, that's PG.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't run through it. I nearly ran through it. In my own defense, two things. One, it was completely spotless. There was a crew on this billionaire's super yacht. They had nothing to do while we were shooting. So all they did was clean these fucking windows all day, every day, so that you couldn't see them for a start. And the other thing is that they oriented the boat with the right mountains and trees and islands behind us. And when it was in the right position, they needed you there in a hurry. But we were all huddled in this tiny air-conditioned room because it was so hot. And they went, "Jason, I need you now." So I jumped. And I jumped into a window, knocked myself out, was caught by the second AD. He said I was there for minutes. I think I was there for a second. I split my head open, which was hilarious. Hilarity abounded for everybody.
Oh, but also I heard something about you walking into an empty pool.
I'm going to call Patrick when this is over.
An empty pool? Are you like the...
Yeah,
come on, no one's...
Yeah. I'm actually very coordinated. I was a pro skateboarder, I'll have you know.
Come on.
I'm a little bit like a 7-year-old or a bunny. I have two speeds, coma and hysteria.
Yeah.
Coma's not that useful on a set. So, I'm enthusiastic and I tend to run at things.
But, when there's water in a pool, that's way more safe than when it's...
Okay, so there's two pool episodes. One is I was visible in the doorway about to enter into a scene. They went, "Back off, Jason." I backed off without looking behind me. I backed up and they had not made safe a corridor which had a big empty pool in it. And I dropped quite a lot, quite deep, and smashed my head on a statue, but didn't split it open, thank God. The other one is when we were in Bangkok, having the premiere in Bangkok. I was late to a restaurant they were all at, and it was on the top floor in some glamorous place. And I walked out and I saw all my friends, Patrick and the others. They all waved at me and I walked towards them, not seeing that they were on a little island where the table was, and there was a pool between me and them, which was luckily only knee deep. And I suddenly sank, and I just kept walking and got to the table and stepped out and sat down and was just slightly damp.
You truly, somebody should follow you around with a camera.
Yeah. Now, didn't you have a reality show for a bit?
I did. My sons and I. This is my favorite Hollywood meeting I ever had. I met with the head of A&E networks, and they were like, "We'd like to get you to do something, and you're entrepreneurial, and would you ever think about doing maybe a home improvement construction or travel?" I said, "No, but I tell you what I would do, a show about my boys and I looking for Bigfoot." And they were like,
"Nice.
Sold." So it literally is my boys and I in like a Scooby-Doo van traveling the country, like investigating supernatural phenomenon. It's the most fun thing I've ever done. It's called the Lowe Files.
So I was just in Richmond, Virginia this last weekend, and somebody came and they had a badge and it said Richmond Ghost Tours.
Yes, I've done it.
I'm terrified of and fascinated by ghosts. And I said, "Have you seen any?" And she looked at me and she went, "I've seen many." And and I go, "Well, give me, is there something I should go and see in Richmond?" And she went, "Well, I'll tell you where not to go. There's a place I get punched every time I go in and slapped. I don't go in the building anymore." And she started to tell me a story about this particular building. She only sends the people in. She won't go in anymore. And they always come out and they've been slapped or punched. And it scared the pants off me. I slept with my lights on in the Jefferson Hotel, which is apparently also haunted. Have you seen any in your life? Have you seen ghosts?
So the first episode, we were at in Ione, California, a long since closed boys' reformatory. So you can only imagine what
what went on there.
A boys' reformatory was like in the 1700. And we had an elevator that would turn on and go up and down the thing. We had lights that turned on. We saw a deflated sort of kickball, like really super deflated.
Right.
Like it wasn't like you'd have to pick it up to move it, and it rolled around the floor on its own.
Were you scared?
Yeah, I was. But I also really wanted to see stuff. Like I was.
Yeah.
We also had one of those voice things. I don't know what the hell they're called. Where like you say, "Who's there?" and we'll go like, "I am," or whatever the fuck. And there was, I guess, there was a room where a woman was found dead.
Right.
And so I made my son go sit in it with the voice thing.
By himself?
Yeah. And
wow, brave boys.
Okay. I'm a good dad.
I wouldn't do it.
And and then, you're like, is there anyone in here? I mean, I am. Like it's pretty cool. So yes, I believe I have seen ghosts.
I believe, and I don't want to believe. I don't want them to be true. I don't want to see one, but I'm curious about it. I did a film called Cure for Wellness, Gore Verbinski film. And in just outside Berlin is the most haunted place in Europe. This series of buildings, this compound where Hitler was rehabbed after the First World War. And then he used it to rehab injured Nazis. And then when the Russians took over East Berlin, they took it over and they made it this kind of, this compound for their psychiatric patients, but really it was for dissidents, and they lobotomized everyone there. There were lots of massacres. So all these people arrived, ghost hunters who were kept out by a barbed wire fence while we were shooting. And I went, what are they doing here? I thought they were coming to see, me and Dane DeHaan. I don't think so. And no, they came to see ghosts. And we'd refurbished one of the buildings, but the others weren't refurbished. I shat myself every day. I never looked up at the other windows because I didn't want to see a silhouette at these dilapidated buildings. And I looked up, they said there's been lots of massacres here and serial killings. And I looked up and I saw there had in fact been a serial killing just 2 years before. And I was like, well, this hasn't been inhabited. How come? What was it? And I look up deeper. I searched on the internet, and it was a magazine shoot, and the photographer had flipped and killed all the models.
What?
Killed 3
Come
models.
on. That sounds like
And then I searched further to see what it was, and it was this is one of those things my publicist should get cut out. Sorry,
this
everyone.
Is great.
It was a fetish magazine.
Oh boy.
And he'd killed them with a frying pan. And to this day, I'm dying to find out whether the frying pan was part of the fetish or whether they were on lunch break.
Yes.
I wasn't quite sure. I still don't know.
Do we have any idea what the fetish was?
Well, if it was cooking, I'd be very curious. I do know that it was very, very haunted. And I just looked down at the ground. I would hold the makeup people's hair to go back to my trailer, hand rather. I just couldn't. I'm terrified of ghosts, is my point. I would not have done what you'd done with your sons.
I want to go there. I want to go visit that place. We also visited a state prison, and I put my son. What would they had a term for it?
There's a theme emerging here. I put my son.
Because
that's the second time you said it.
They're good. They were very good television. Like if you put me there, I'm like into it. So it's way more fun to put somebody who's petrified. This was the
the follow-up season of them, all the therapy they needed.
Yeah. So when you hang someone in the gallows and they drop through the floor, the area where they drop through the floor and then the body is recovered is called something, whatever. So I made him go down in that and that was I got to say, that was one moment where I felt like I'd gone too far. And that's in the show where I'm feeling like this is because he was really scared. So the gallows area was
sure.
But we had fun. Meanwhile, they all want to do it again.
What are you going to look for this time?
The first episode would be in Hawaii. We would look for the Manahunis. Are you aware of the Manahunis?
Right. No.
The Manahunis are little like elvish, like elves, sprites that steal things and they're like tiny little ghosts.
First cousins of the leprechaun.
Yes, they're 100%. They're the Hawaiian leprechauns, and then the night marchers, which are
Right.
really fucking gnarly. The night marchers are.
I'm feeling like you're probably not going to see any of these things, as opposed to a ghost.
I will tell you, I know lots of people who have
claim to have
seen
it.
the night marchers. Like if you go
Fair
back
enough.
into the backlands up in like, Kona, they have torches and just a series of
Right.
people with torches. But they say that if you look at them, then bad things happen to you.
I'm intrigued. I'll be watching. I love it. You reminded me for a minute that one of my favorite episodes of This American Life, I'm so sorry, it's a rival podcast, but they've been around a while, which was about kid logic. And there was one of the producers on and said that when she was a kid, she came home, she was like 7 at the time, she said, "Mom, I know about the tooth fairy." And the mother said, "Oh, I'm sorry, honey. Do you remember this episode?" She goes, "What? How do you know?" She goes, "Well, Shari Silverstein told me at school." And Shari Silverstein was her friend whose dad was their dentist. And said, "What did she say?" She goes, "Well, she woke up and Mr. Silverstein was like putting money under her pillow." And she goes, "Oh no." And what does Shari think? She goes, "Well, like me, she's confused. Like, how does Mr. Silverstein get to everybody's house? Like, does he do Europe?" And she said, "I don't know." And so for years afterwards, when she went to the dentist, the guy would be doing her teeth and she'd go, "How's work, Mr. S?" Just not mention it. And then when she got a job, I think, at the New Yorker or somewhere before she went to This American Life, one time she's in the copy room and a guy ran in looking very, very panicked and very upset. She said, "What's the matter?" He goes, "There are elves, right? I mean, there are elves." And she thought back to when she was a kid and she went, "There are absolutely elves." And he left the room. I love that people believe.
The slogan for the show on the billboards and the ads were, "It's more fun to believe."
Yeah, but there is a fact or not. I was listening to a fantastic, yet another different podcast about Houdini. There's a 3-part about Houdini on Pushkin, Malcolm Gladwell's thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize he spent years of his life, the last many years of his life, and the equivalent of tens of millions of dollars of his money, trying to disprove this wave of spiritualism and psychic phenomena and ghosts and the rest of it that was sweeping the world after the First World War and the Spanish flu. So many people wanted to contact the dead because so many people had died that people were being taken in everywhere. And he, like the great Randy, who left that $1 million challenge everywhere for a long time, when there is no such thing, I will give a fortune. I think it was $10,000 in those days, which is the equivalent of millions today.
Yeah.
If anyone can show me anything supernatural that I can't do by magic. And that was what his life was devoted to.
Houdini's,
yeah.
Did Houdini die doing a trick, an illusion?
No, he didn't. He died. He died because he had sepsis. He had infection in his stomach. There is a question mark over it might have happened because he had students visiting his dressing room at one point. And one of them, who he didn't know, came in late. Possibly, you could imagine someone sent him there because he had lots of enemies, mostly these very famous spiritualists who were making a lot of money. But it might just have been an over-enthusiastic student who was in the dressing room and he went, "Hey, do you this stuff about people can punch you in the stomach and you have like the toughest muscles in the world? Is that true?" And being slightly vulgar, and the other guy said, "Well, just leave him." And he was resting between shows. And he went, "I have a good muscle. You can feel." And he felt his stomach. He goes, "Can I punch you?" "Yeah, sure." And he just started wailing into him, like wailing again. And the other students went, "That's enough. It's enough." And they pulled him off. And Houdini was fine, went ahead, did his show, did all these things. But then a day later, he went to hospital, possibly as a consequence of the punches, but probably not. And in those days, of course, they didn't have antibiotics and stuff, and he had massive infections in his stomach, and he died a day or two later from that. So if you want to be a conspiracy theorist, you can say someone sent this guy to the dressing room who no one knew to punch him to death.
You go in and punch him to death.
Yeah. But that's not the story I knew. I thought someone came up on stage and punched him in the stomach and he died. That's what I remembered, but I remembered incorrectly.
Yeah, I have in my mind, maybe this is the Mandela effect. Are you familiar with the Mandela effect?
Oh, I don't know. What is it?
So the Mandela effect is this notion that we had a timeline shift at some point. I feel like it was maybe around, people say, in the early 2000s. And since then, things that we grew up believing absolutely are true actually aren't, because we had a timeline shift. For example,
right,
like the notion that, Houdini died, he drowned, unable to, or whatever.
Get out of a butt. Yeah.
There's a thing like the Fruit of the Loom underwear. I don't know if they have them in Britain, but
they have them.
Okay,
yeah. I had them when I was a teenager.
Because their logo had a cornucopia on it.
Right.
Well, it never did, apparently.
Oh.
And there's all of those.
So there's many of those myths.
Yeah. I love that we've turned this into like a conspiracy, spiritual.
Well,
I love that.
Technically, I'm here to publicize the most watched show in the world.
Okay,
It doesn't need me to tell people to watch The White Lotus. And if you're not watching it already, you're not going to start, and it finishes on Sunday. So
I couldn't believe
watch
it.
The White Lotus. That bit's over with. Now we can just talk.
So no characters from this year had been. Well, no, that's not true. There are a few characters that had previously lived in the White Lotus universe.
Yeah. There's two. Yeah. There's two.
And
I mean, it's interesting talking nowadays about streaming shows because a lot of people are watching it, obviously, and it finishes on Sunday, and people constantly want to know what happens. And I guess after Sunday, we will talk about who dies and who doesn't and stuff. But it's also on a streaming platform, so there are people who haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of spoilers, but then that means you'd never talk about anything if you didn't talk about it. So, but anyone who's already watched the first 7 episodes, cover your ears if you haven't. Greg is back. Greg, who was Tanya's husband. But he's called Gary now, and there is a big cloud of suspicion over him. And the fabulous Natasha's back as Belinda, who comes across Greg and isn't quite sure what to do about it because he's on the run from Interpol.
So my son,
but the rest of us are new. Yes,
my son went to Duke.
Did he?
Yes. So
did you see the fuss online about the T-shirts?
Oh yeah,
hilarious.
We're all very aware. So walk me through exactly the hubbub of the Duke T-shirt.
Well, so first of all, my character, one of the story dilemmas, if you're not watching the show, why the hell aren't you? And go and watch it and come back. Yeah. But my youngest son is trying to decide between going to Duke and going to, I can't remember, what is the other place?
North Carolina, probably Tar Heels, yeah.
Sorry, North Carolina. So, but I went to Duke. I'm a Duke alumni. And the Saxon Patrick character is a Duke alumni. And consequently, when we're thinking about costumes, I was talking to Alex, the wonderful Emmy-winning costume designer. I said, maybe he wears a Duke T-shirt to sleep in. Maybe he's probably president of something and fundraiser and all the rest of it. So we got a Duke T-shirt for me to wear when I'm sleeping in it, and I'm pretty sure they got it cleared because, as you know, you don't ever go on television without getting all the logos cleared.
Yep.
And there are scenes in it in which I'm suicidal and even homicidal, and who knows what's happening on episode 8. And they are the ones in which I am wearing my Duke T-shirt because it's bedtime. Well, someone at Duke decided that was really untoward and felt, was not happy with the association. Other people online were pointing out that there are real-life alumni of Duke to be far more worried about than a fictional alumni. And hilariously, I was stuck at Charlotte Airport the other day, and my suitcases hadn't arrived where I was going, so I bought a T-shirt at the airport with a devil on it, not realizing it was a Duke T-shirt but then I was in Virginia, and people drove from Durham, North Carolina, very sweetly to come. I was at a convention, appearing somewhere. They drove just to tell me that they thought my accent was accurate and I shouldn't listen to the people who don't know what a Durham, North Carolina accent is. And they brought me Duke T-shirts.
Oh.
So I now have a selection of Duke T-shirts. I didn't wear one today. If I'd known, I'd have it on now. But I am intending to wear them whenever there's a camera around. So sorry, Duke. There goes my honorary degree.
Well, we have Dukes in the Final Four this weekend.
Yes, no, I understand. It's a big deal. And wouldn't it be great if I went on and I would say throw the first pitch.
Oh my God, how great.
I went on and sung the national anthem.
Why? That's the greatest missed opportunity. Well, the show is basically airing that night, so.
Yes, I'll be busy.
But wouldn't that have been
amazing? I also
amazing?
can't sing, and I'm English. But apart from all those reasons.
Would you ever sing I feel like singing the national anthem is.
If I did, I would make Roseanne look like Barbara Streisand.
I understand.
So I'm not sure it's a good idea.
And in the UK, there's no equivalent. People don't get out and sing "God Save the Queen" or whatever the fuck
God,
before.
No, not at all. But wait, you can sing
a little bit.
No, I think you can sing. Didn't you do musicals at some point?
I did when I was.
I was trying not to crash, but I was having to think. It's the stuff about Rob I should know as I was looking you up in traffic lights on the way here. I would give a digit to be able to sing. I love good voices. I love musicals. I love great singers. They move me to tears. My dirty, embarrassing secret is that I watch all those singing shows. I watch them under the covers while my wife is asleep, and I'm shaking with tears. All that horrible manipulative editing of, they were born without a head, but they've managed to sing anyway through their other orifices, and it always gets me sobbing. And then they sing beautifully, and I love it. And I wish I could sing. I can't wait for AI to fix
I can't believe you. I think you're selling yourself short. I've never met a good actor that couldn't carry a tune.
No, I can sell a song.
That's half of it. That's half of it, though.
Yeah, I go to musicals. I sit in the front row. I know what a good voice. And when someone's got a set of pipes, I tell you, we did karaoke on White Lotus quite a lot. more than once. And the first time, Dave, the producer, Dave Bernard, threw a karaoke party at his place. And I thought, well, whatever. It's a bunch of actors. We're all getting to know each other. It's good to make yourself vulnerable and sing badly. Patrick, God bless him, is utterly unbothered, unshy about singing very badly. And it really
dude, I had Arnold sing karaoke once. Arnold never has done it. Never. It was, I got to say, he inherited his singing ability from his father.
Yes. Yeah, the apple fell right in the middle of the tree.
Right in the tree. Hello, anyway, suspicious minds. We're caught in a trap. I can't walk out.
But I love people who are just unembarrassed about it. I have a musical ear. I can hear how far I'm off. That's what kills me. But anyway, Natasha took the microphone. Natasha, who sings like Aretha and Diana Ross, and she's just got an incredible voice, and sang nonstop. And then Christian, who plays Fabian in it, Christian Friedel, German actor, sang, and we all did a triple take, and our heads spun off our shoulders. He's had 6 albums out in Germany. And then Tame sang. Tame, who plays Gaitok in it. Tame has been a special forces soldier and an anti-terrorism czar and a bodyguard and trainer. But when he didn't get into the SAS, I think it was because of some infection or whatever, he was disappointed. He came back to Thailand, and before enlisting back in the Thai army, his friends entered him for a singing competition, and I think he won the equivalent of Thai's Got Talent. And so Tame started singing. We all went, wait, did Ed Sheeran just arrive? Got a phenomenal voice. The cast is full of people who can sing brilliantly. Well, and so it was intimidating. We had karaoke a couple of times.
You don't want to go up against any Thai person with karaoke. I mean, it's.
No.
I mean,
my worst experience. Do you know Darius Rucker?
Yeah, of course.
You probably know.
I've had him on the podcast. He's great.
All right, so Houdini the Blowfish, singer of old, but one of the great. And what does he do? He's one of the great soul singers, but he does country a lot.
Yeah, he lives in Nashville, and that's his main vibe now. Yeah.
So years ago, when he was in Houdini the Blowfish, they used to have a big charity golf tournament, and they still do, called Monday After Masters. Yep. And they phoned me and they said, "Will you come?" And I went, "I'm really not a good golfer. I'm a bad bogey golfer." And they went, "It doesn't matter what your golf is like. Loads of people come. They're terrible golfers. It's for charity, and you're in Harry Potter, and people will buy tickets, and it will be great for charity." And I went, honestly, because there's loads of actors. Anyway, I turn up in wherever we were, and he'd lied. Everybody else was an NBA player or a professional footballer. They're all scratch golfers. Incredibly embarrassing. We have a round the day before the crowds arrive, and I go, "What are those ropes by the thing?" They go, "That's where the crowds will be." And I go, "Are you fucking kidding me? I'm going to kill people on every single fairway." And they went, "I'm sure you're being modest." And then I hit a ball, and they all ran around on their walkie-talkies going, "Okay, we're going to have to move the crowds back a long way when the English guy's playing. Okay, a long way."
Wow.
So anyway, I played embarrassing golf when the crowds come in. And Darius goes, you come to the party, right?" And I go, "There's a party?" He goes, "Yeah, the House of Blues tonight. It's great. Everybody, they pay another $1,000. It's really great for the charity. You should come and mix with people." I'm like, "All right." I go and I get there, and he goes, "What are you singing?" I go, "No, dude, I'm sorry. I've already played golf. That's bad enough. I am absolutely not singing." He goes, "Okay, look, I lied to you about the golf. Of course, they're all golfers. You wouldn't come otherwise. Believe me, they can't sing. Believe me, these guys can't. I've heard them every year. They really can't sing." And I went, "Oh, all right, I'll sing a Beatles song. I'm from Liverpool. I'll do it in a Liverpool accent. I can make it a comedy. It'll be fine." So he puts me down, and she's right. They sing, and it's like a series of cats in a mangle. The guy before me gets up. It's like he's just been castrated. It's a horrible sound. Everybody leaves the room. It's so awful that he grabs the microphone. Darius goes, "Come on, let's get the party started. Any requests?" And people go, "Yeah, do Stevie Wonder." He does Stevie Wonder. He does Michael Jackson. He does Frank Sinatra. Everybody comes into the room now. The whole crowd's in the room. They're going nuts. More. And he goes, "No, let's get back to the karaoke with the guy. Well, who I got next? I got Jacob Isaacs." And,
oh boy!
And that was my.
Oh no, that's not good. That's when you leave.
It was one of the great traumatic memories of my life. For charity.
Growing up in Liverpool, what was your relationship with the Beatles phenomenon?
Oh, that's the soundtrack of my life.
Yeah.
That was the soundtrack of my life. That's all anyone ever played from the time I came out of the womb. That's all I ever heard. And I'm I'm both thrilled to say that I'm choking to death. I'm both thrilled to say that the generation, the younger generation, they are discovering the Beatles and venerating them, which is fantastic. And horrified that my kids won't listen to it because I pushed so hard for them to say the Beatles is the greatest band that ever lived that I don't think they're on any of their playlists. It really bothers me.
I know what you mean. But I do think that they're being rediscovered. I mean, it's hard to impart to kids today what the Beatles were like. I'm almost a generation too. That's not true. I can remember "Hey Jude" on the radio as a current single. Right. I can remember that. So
I remember it on 8-tracks. My dad had an 8-track in the car. Remember those?
Yep.
Like big
Of course.
chunky cassettes. And we had I guess they were called hi-fi or something.
Yeah.
We had a record player, but in the garage. It wasn't done to have music in the house. So my brothers and I would go in the garage and listen to stuff. But it was playing everywhere. And it was Beatles or Stones when I grew up, and it was clearly Beatles. I never got into Rolling Stones because it felt like it was a betrayal.
Right, I'm sure.
Of John, Paul, George, Ringo, and Bert.
Did you, but how insane to grow up listening to the Beatles, but then you'd actually go to all of the places that are written about in the songs.
Yeah, like Penny Lane was down the road from me. Yeah. And actually, John's auntie lived around the corner. I mean, I was a little kid. We are roughly the same age. I think I might be a year older than you, which is odd as I think, oh, look, there's Rob. I've been watching him since I was a kid, but you were too, I guess, because we're the same age.
Yeah.
But so I wasn't going to the cavern or anything like that, but I was aware of them. I thought that was the only music in the world.
Wow.
That and what my parents listened to, Barbra Streisand and Frank Sinatra. That was the only music in the world.
By the way, it might be. I mean, if you're going to pick
I still listen to it. I tell you, a couple of years ago, I went to a slightly different. I went to a Globes party here. I'm talking to you from Los Angeles, and it was a Netflix party. So I was in the series called The OA. It was on Netflix. And we went there, and it was a fab party. It was very cool. They'd won a couple of awards, and someone said to me, "You've got to go. They've got the coolest DJ in the world. He just spins amazing tracks." And I got there, and he was spinning amazing tracks. The whole place was throbbing, and I thought, I've got all of these tracks from the 70s on vinyl.
Mm.
All the cool songs were the songs that, when disco burst, they were the same things being remixed, which I love. Can I just say to anybody, if they're watching this, I'm looking up at Rob on a screen, and I don't know what the shot will look like. It might look like he is godlike, which he is to me, obviously, but the reason I'm looking up there all the time, it might be an odd angle, but he's up above there on the screen.
He's above me.
Yeah, in so many ways. I can't even count them.
He's above me. Tell me again the name.
Tell me stories about Patrick growing up.
Okay, you want to hear about Patrick growing up?
Yes.
Well, he is, and I would say this to his face, he is an American.
Was he always this nice? Did he go through a phase at least? Please tell me he went through a phase of being an idiotic teenager.
No, he's always been.
That's annoying.
Well, he has parents who are super on top of it. I mean, Maria Shriver is one of the great women in the world, and Arnold ruled with an iron fist. I mean, the great story of I
got that sense.
If he didn't make the bed, a lot of times the bed would be thrown out the window into the pool.
Wow. Not many people can pick up a bed
and fit it through a window.
Yes, yeah.
There's a lot of fold. It can origami. Arnold Schwarzenegger is so strong he can origami a mattress.
Right.
I
loved watching Pumping Iron that he would go and eat in the hall in front of all the other people who were starving themselves just to intimidate them and then throw up because he was doing it just to annoy them. It's such a psych out game. All competition is psych out.
He's one of my favorite people in the planet. I love him so much, and Maria as well. But I've known him forever, and he's always had that sort of light around him, that sort of charisma, that sort of thing. He's sort of a born winner. And that's what was so powerful to me about watching the scene we were referring to where he talks about, I have nothing without you. To see that he had that gear in him. There's nothing in his upbringing
you wouldn't think so.
that would prepare you for that kind of...
Well, not to take away from him, but actually I think everybody's doing fabulous work in it. And the reason is, as you know, as an actor, we get all kinds of credit when we're lucky enough to be able to tell stories with fantastic writing.
That's right.
I've been an actor for almost as long as you, not quite. And the times in my life, I can count on one or maybe two hands that I've had lots of praise or even awards or nominations or whatever, have been the times when I've been blessed enough to be given a phenomenal three-dimensional part. And the day you read it, you go, if I don't fuck this up, people are going to think it's me.
Right.
And I'm the same actor in those completely forgettable things that you don't notice or switch off. I'm just lucky enough to be playing this guy.
It's the cliche is true about we're only as good as our material, and everybody has been paying attention to you guys, and also every week it feels like there's this new sequence. And a couple of weeks ago it was Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, people should watch that scene because it's an acting clinic. Because all Sam Rockwell is doing, and by the way, when I say all, I'm not saying that in a diminishing way, quite the contrary. He's doing one of the hardest things ever. He's just saying the words.
Yeah.
Just
telling you a story.
He's just telling the story.
That's all you have to do. I remember my first day at drama school. They lined us up in the corner of the room, and the guy said, walk across the middle of the room, go through a door, and walk across the other corner of the room. And everybody made this 5-act opera. Like, you get to the middle of the invisible door and you can't find your keys in your pocket. And then the door's stuck. And then, you trip on the thing. Oh, no, you double take. Did I leave the thing behind me? And then the teacher just walked across, opened a door, walked through, and got to the other two. He goes, that's all I asked you to do. Sometimes you just have to tell the story and trust that the story itself is doing the work and don't get in the way. And with Mike, it's a phenomenal story. And it's a simple job acting. You just have to be another person in another situation. Sometimes it's hard to do, but it's just that, no more than that.
And the other part of it is listening. And Walton's got the role in that scene of sitting there listening, and he's murdering it too, because he's just listening and is equally as compelling. Listening can be as equally compelling as talking, as you know. Let me ask you, you were on the...
Well, the best performances I've ever seen, I think, in my life have been off camera. Like someone, when you're not thinking, because we all do it, we try not to. The better you get at it, the more able you are to forget this stuff. But you can't help but think, oh, this is my big bit. This is the bit where I cry. This bit where I'm angry. This bit where I laugh. But when you're off camera, you're just being with the other person and making those moments come to life. And then you get on camera, you think, I'll just do exactly what I did, but there's 5 cameras on me and 100 people watching. Mm-hmm. And suddenly there's a feeling that you ought to be doing something as opposed to wanting something from the other person. And that's all acting is being with another person. Like now, I'm doing all the talking. This is written down, but you're nodding, and that's what I really want. I really want you to nod. I guess what I really want you to do is think, my God, Jason's just a guru of acting, But it's all about what I want from your brain, not what I'm doing.
What, when you were on the West Wing, was I still on the show then? I don't know.
No, you were long gone. Yeah. Aaron Sorkin was gone too.
That's too bad, because to have his stuff to work with is just...
Tell me about it. Yeah. No, I had a license to know. I inherited, as you well know, the culture of you can't change an ellipsis into a semicolon.
They were still doing that on the West Wing after Aaron left?
Yeah, they were trying to, but I made the character Irish. So I was able to say things that, Brad and Janelle and people who've been on it for years couldn't do, which is like, actually, Irish people don't say that. Can they just flip it around a bit?
Yes.
And they would look at me with horror and jealousy because they didn't get to do that ever. So it was odd. It was my first American television. I never experienced. I come from British television and from movies where things are looser. Generally, it's more like making a film. And so I'd never encountered anything as rigid before when it came to words and how scenes were played. It shocked me. And I remember there was one point at which I said a line very sarcastically, so I made a joke out of it. And Brad's line, playing Josh, was meant to make a joke out of something, and he said to the writer and the director there, he goes, I don't think I can say this line because he's already made a joke. Like, I can't make a joke about a joke. He's already made it a joke. And so, and the director went, okay. And the writer said, well, I'd like to see it. I'll decide in the edit. And I'd never seen that power dynamic before. Actually, writers aren't on British things. They weren't in those days. There were never a writer around. There were 3 jobs further back, And I just, it was an education for me to see how different American television was.
Yeah,
it's not always been like that. It certainly wasn't like that on White Lotus. Mike is very free and collaborative, and you can improvise stuff, and he just wants the scene to work well and score, and he actually wants many, many choices in the scenes. But some of the network television I've done before that, the script has been through 83 people with very expensive suits, and they want exactly what they read. And it's, I'm not sure it's the most creative atmosphere.
It can definitely, for sure not be. I know what I need. I keep forgetting to ask you this. When you were in Angels of America at the National, who directed it?
Declan Donlan.
Okay, it was that version.
Who went on to work with the Moscow Arts Theatre a lot. But I remember in West Wing, because I was such a huge fan of the show. I'd seen every episode multiple times. I've even rewatched it. It's just don't we all wish that Martin was in the White House right now?
Yes.
Jed
how
Bartlett
about this?
Was in the White House
Let's make the distinction. Bartlett in the White House.
Yes, Bartlett, not Martin. Yeah, to be fair.
We don't need the president of the United States chaining himself to the market doors to protest
absolutely right.
Grape prices.
Proper correction.
Yeah.
Jed Bartlett being there. But I was such a huge fan of it. I was working, I was with Janelle and Brad, who were Josh and Donna. Yeah. And I actually knew Janelle socially. She knows my wife. And but I couldn't not think of them as Josh and Donna, the great unconsummated love story of all the seasons. And so when I was in there having a romance with Donna, I was thinking, no, don't be with me. Save yourself for Josh. And there was one scene in which it said on the page something like, it's morning, Donna has slept with the photographer. And the director said, look, we'll do one where she's sitting writing an email, and you'll just be lying in the bed behind her, just asleep. And maybe we'll do one also where you come up and just put your hands on her shoulders, and we see your hands and we pan up and see it's you. I go, okay. So we do the one where I'm asleep and Janelle's writing the thing. And then we do the second one where I come up, put my hands on her shoulders. She turns around, she stands up and just tongue wrestles me to the ground. Sticks her tongue down my throat, starts making out on me.
Yeah.
It's on the bed on top of me. And I go with it. And the director goes, cut. And I go, Janelle, the fuck was that? And she goes, freebie.
That's freebie. Free shot on goal.
Yeah.
It's funny. Those are the after I left the show, I didn't see it so much. But when I would turn on the show, I would see scenes that Aaron made a rule of never doing.
Yeah.
He would never do a scene of Donna's at her house or apartment.
Yeah.
Or he would. I remember finally when I gave up, when I turned on one of the later seasons, and there was a 17-year-old version of John Spencer in a rice paddy in Nam. And I was like, oh my God, somewhere Aaron Sorkin is literally lighting himself on fire.
Yeah, no. You could sense the difference immediately. I could. I was thrilled to be in it, but it clearly wasn't his stuff. Although I did think that thing, when I rewatch it now, he's such a brilliant writer. He writes such extraordinarily brilliant dialogue. No wonder he wanted it done verbatim. I would only want to deliver it verbatim.
Yeah, you don't want to change it, for sure.
But you did think all these characters are so witty and so erudite, you could swap the dialogue around. Almost anyone could say anything. Whereas when I look at what Mike does extraordinarily in a very different way in The White Lotus, all of those characters are so perfectly, uniquely defined. You could never take a line and swap them between characters.
You're right.
Because how he imagines being the Thai bodyguard and the 3 middle-aged women or a titan of industry like me and also an 18-year-old and does it so perfectly is beyond, it's like something supernatural.
I don't think he ever saw, you could never have seen the success of White Lotus coming, like The West Wing.
No.
Those two shows on paper in the culture and times within which they were made are designed to fail. And
I remember reading the pilot of The West Wing. No, I wasn't offered a part or anything, but maybe to audition or something. I can't remember why, but I read it thinking, it's about the other people and not the president? That doesn't make any sense. All the people in the back office? What a terrible idea. Just ludicrous,
I remember reading Lost. You're like, they're on the fucking island the whole time? They're never getting off the island?
I was doing The Patriot and I was sent Lord of the Rings. And I was like, wait a second, I mean, this giant fat script. I kept on turning back to page 1. Sorry, which are the hairy ones? Which are the short ones? Is anyone going to be able to keep track of these things? I had like a guide, a map at the front page. I not that was an offer either. I don't want to, the hubris would be blinding. But there are numbers of things I passed on that I read and went, this is never going to work. They've turned out to be massive global successes for years. The career that I didn't have from things I passed is so much more impressive than the one I've had.
You just know. Okay, let me ask you this: Is White Lotus approaching Harry Potter for you in terms of folks stopping you?
I mean, it's so much bigger than I thought it was. I knew it was a great show. My family watched it. I hadn't watched it because they wouldn't let me in the room because I didn't start from episode 1 with them. And so when they were on episode 3 or 4, it was during COVID. I think I was always washing up in the kitchen.
Right, sure.
Because they cooked and I washed up. And they wouldn't let me. They said, you've got to watch some episode 1, Daddy. And then when season 2 came around, they were watching it together. They went, you've got to see season 1 first. I'm like, all right. Banned from my own front room. So I caught up. I watched it. It's fabulous. But I cannot tell you how, on this publicity junket that we've been on, all of us, for the last 7 weeks, all over the world, it seems like you're in your own little echo chamber. It feels like every biped on the planet has both seen it and is obsessed with it. Now, I know I'm in a bubble, and that's not true, but that's what it feels like. It feels bigger than Harry Potter. It can't be. And people still want to talk to me about Harry Potter 20 years later. But it's quite something. It's phenomenal.
I feel like, because the West Wing was like, it felt like exactly thing. You felt like everywhere you went, any room you went into, any restaurant, anywhere on the street, you could feel it in the air that everybody was watching avidly. And it doesn't happen all the time. And 100% you feel it with White Lotus. It's the same thing.
And it's not just they're watching it. They're really thinking about it.
Yeah.
They're talking with their friends about it. What's odd is these young people I come across who want to talk about it are talking about it like it's a brilliant, new, innovative way to show television week by week. Like it's extraordinary because you get to talk about it in social media. And you go, that's how it always was until recently. It makes such a difference that people have a week
such a difference.
Cogitate and, marinate and all the rest of it.
I mean, look, I'm Ted Sarandis is one of my best buddies, and if he's listening, which he does quite often, Ted, you could turn this off right now. I am a huge fan of the notion that there's some ceremony to when the show comes out, as opposed to just dumping it out there. And
well, look, I'm an addict. I can't stop myself, so I binge shows when they're out, and there is an exquisite agony in having to wait a week.
Yes,
but during that agony, you do get to say to people. I mean, I was in a show on Netflix which went very, very well. Let's not talk about it too much. I'll start crying. Ted. Anyway, called The OA, which was cancelled after 2 seasons. But it had such a massive, obsessed following. If it was dumped on a Friday, if it was, uploaded on a Friday, everyone had watched it by Saturday morning.
Wow.
It's just gone, and so all that money and all that time, you don't get to be in the zeitgeist. You don't get to be in the conversation. You don't. And so, I don't know, I am loving on behalf of the audience and me as a fan, the White Lotus being week by week. I haven't seen episode 8. And although I've read it, I think I know what happens. There's been an edit and everything. I've had to wait a week, and I've been badgering them at HBO and the publicists and everybody else going, give me episode 8 now, and they won't.
Okay, let me ask you this. Is there any way in hell that whoever is dead is not who you think is dead? I'm not talking about the audience perception. I'm talking about somebody who read the script and shot the episode. Are there multiple?
Well, my wife was there for 5 months, and she said to me, do you know which of the endings Mike's chosen? And I went, what? She went, which of the multiple endings you shot? And I went, what are you talking about? We didn't shoot multiple endings. She goes, I know you did. Well, she's completely wrong. So
you didn't?
Maybe he went off and shot an ending that I don't know about as well. I think we all know exactly what's happening come Sunday night. But every episode came in during the first edit about an hour and a half. So lots of things, it did actually change. I mean, not substantially from the original stories. People lost things and things were reshaped. So I'm not quite sure how everything will play out, but I'm pretty sure I know.
Wait, did you just say that the initial edits of every episode came in at an hour and a half?
They were long, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that's what Mike told me. They were long, and I heard from other people they were long. I mean, look, he writes all this gorgeous stuff, and then you shoot it, and space, things take more time.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know, they stick monkeys in between or something. It's better to have too much than too little.
Yes.
And we all notice which bits are cut. We're all texting each other, me and my kids, Patrick, Sam and Sarah Catherine, constantly texting each other about bits that you feel like we've had organs cut out when we've lost a line or something.
Oh, God, I remember.
Yeah. It hurts.
Well, that was the thing about going back to West Wing. Nothing was ever cut because it was so
perfect.
Aaron was so he just works in a different way where it's so precise. So you would watch it and you'd never have the, oh God, they cut my left arm off in that scene. I know, and we all know what that's like. There's nothing worse.
Yeah. So stories that kind of in the ether were that near the end, Aaron, such a perfectionist and also so, I don't know, obsessive, whatever the words are that aren't too negative, would be locked in his trailer and you'll be waiting for pages to come under the door. You'd be on the set waiting and then he'd deliver them and it'll be golden. But that was why in the end you had a new show.
It wasn't it wasn't in the end. It was always like that. I mean, you have to understand.
Oh, really?
Aaron did on the first season of West Wing, I think he did the single greatest writing accomplishment, and it'll never be repeated. He wrote 22 episodes of Sports Night and 22 episodes of The West Wing in the same season. And by the way, he had no staff. I mean, yes, he had a staff. There are some of my great friends who are great writers were on the staff, but they'll be the first to tell you, Aaron wrote every every single thing. So there were times. I
think that's what they say about David E. Kelley as well. There are other credited writers, but every syllable has come through his pen or his keyboard.
The great ones you can always tell. I think they have a voice, they have a vision, they have and you know that David Chase, on The Sopranos was certainly like,
and Matt Weiner on Mad Men as well. I think.
Yeah,
and Mike is he's a phenomenon. It's upsetting that they have new casts every season because when you come across people like that. You just go, I want to do your next thing. I just want to be part of the repertory company forever. I don't want to say anybody else's.
How about Mike? Now he just travels the world going, what amazing hotel do I want to? I remember I was at, I forget where I was, somewhere really great. And they were like, some insane hotel. I'm like, we're in the final. It's between us and one other place for White Lotus. Like the hotel.
Yeah.
Like the hotel was an actor.
Yeah. No, well, they are the locations. I mean, Thailand specifically is a place you chose not just for what it looks like, but because that's where people go to seek spiritual enlightenment. So that's a whole extra theme.
Mm-hmm.
People who wanted the show to be repeating itself and who are the same characters as last time and who are misunderstanding the nature of his artistry and his ambition and his growth even as an artist, that, this time I think it's much richer and much more profound and much more moving. Certainly my character's journey, the one who couldn't be further from someone seeking enlightenment, is the one who is stripped down to the essence of his core with everything gone. Who am I if I'm none of the things I thought I was and the things I thought I had and the way people looked at me? It's so clever and so human. There's no archetypes. There's nothing taken off a shelf. He's not making any political points. It's almost like the characters speak to him and he records it. He doesn't start with a political agenda or something.
Well, I'm.
And now I sound like I'm in love with him. I am in love with him.
Well, no, but listen, are you kidding me? I fall in love with anybody who gives me great language.
Well, I didn't have any words, unfortunately. That was the big challenge with this. And I phoned him when I was offered the job. It wasn't like I wasn't going to take the job because it's Mike and White Lotus, right. But I did say, Mike, what am I going to do? I'm out of my head on downers for like 5 or 6 episodes, not speaking. How is the audience going to know anything I'm thinking? He goes, well, you think it and I'll try and capture it. And the unspoken sentence was, and if it's boring, I'll cut away from you. But it was a tough challenge to think, am I just going to be like this idiot asleep in the corner for all these episodes? And I tried not to be.
No, and you're great in it, and it's great, and enjoy the ride because you know how it is. They come around every once in a while.
I do know how it is, and it's funny being around, but not just the youngsters playing my kids, but some of the others. They're all younger than me. Watching this moment where everybody is in the kind of white heat of the volcano, and knowing I've had a few before that, this time next week I get on the subway and I go to Ralph's and nobody gives you a second look. And I know that when you're younger, you can feel like you've arrived and you do all these meetings in Hollywood and you leave every meeting and you think, oh my God, they love me. I actually might be the greatest actor to ever walk the face of the planet. And I better make space in my cupboard because scripts are going to be arriving this afternoon by the truckload. And I keep counseling my friends because, we became very friendly, lots of us. Take a job quite soon. Don't think that this flow will continue forever. It's a wonderful moment, but it passes.
Take a job quite soon. I love.
Always do. I always say to my friends, writers and directors, and I go, before a film comes out, get your next film set up because it's never hotter than before it's come out.
I love that. It's true. Thank you, my friend. This is so great.
It's lovely to not meet you.
It was lovely to be at arm's length with you.
Yeah. Well, I'm a little bit gamey, to be honest with you. I was up this morning, did the 7-minute workout, no time for a shower. There's a lot of spray of antiperspirant, so you're better off on the screen.
I love it. Well, this was great. I'll tell your son, Patrick. He said Tell
Arnold to back off. He's mine now.
He was like, text me when you're done. Text me when you're done. So I'm going to text him and say you were super fun. Super fun.
All right. Well, lovely to meet you. And sorry I was looking up at the screen all the time and you just saw the whites of my eyes.
All right, brother. Thank you.